Well, I'm pretty sure that tells us exactly where the leak is coming from. And there's the new one in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, consider subscribing if you're interested in this kind of content. We do other stuff on the channel too, travel videos, hobbies, cars, racing, all that kind of stuff. So you might find something else you're interested in. But today, we're going to see if we can't fix a small leak in the 2017 Ram. So I noticed, if you look here, I noticed in the bottom of this storage bin, when I went to reach in and grab some straps out, that there was some water and everything was soaking wet back here in the back. And so I started troubleshooting, and it didn't take very long to figure out it was only about 2 or 3 things that it could have been. One, it could possibly be the satellite radio antenna on the top, which is doubtful. 2, and more likely, is the third brake light seal, and that's a possibility, but I don't think that's it. Because the big thing is there's no stains, no watermarks, anything on the headliner anywhere, and there's no water around the window seal or anything else. So third, and what is most likely, if you can look right down there, you can see, if I can get the camera angled right, the cab vents. There's one on the driver's side and one on the passenger side. And these things are known to have the tabs break off and break loose and cause water to leak down the back wall and then into the storage bins in the bottom. They have a new design, which is right here, and I'll give you the part number for it and everything in the description. I'll show you the bag and the other ones I got back here. So there's the part number for this. And so we've got to pop these rear seats out, walk back over to the truck, pop these rear seats out and see if we can pull the carpet lining from the back of the truck to get to the vents and see if we can't get these replaced. Shouldn't be too terrible. We've got a 13mm socket that goes on these small bolts, if your truck happens to have these, of course, the little storage bin and the platforms in the back. And then the bigger one is an 18mm bolt for these large seat bolts that hold in. So we've got to take those loose, take a plug loose, see what's going on with the middle seat belt. I don't know if I'll have to take it loose or not, and then get these seats out and see what we're dealing with. Okay, so wasn't too bad. We've got our next step completed. We've got our bolts out. Got some pretty big bolts for the main ones. There's one there and one in the back. That one holds in the seat belt buckle part that comes up through the seat. I'll show you on the seat that we took out. One in the back corner, and then these in the front. And this has a stud, I guess, to kind of help align it or whatever. And then there's 2 hooks in the back that there's brackets on the back of the seat that you have to pick the seat up off of those brackets in order to get it out. So I guess just another layer of protection in case you were in a crash. They lock in. And then this thing, maybe it's for a child seat or something, a latch or something, I don't know. I loosened it. I'm not going to take it off unless I have to, because I need to take these push pins out of this thing in the back, this cover, in order to get to the vent, which I think is right here behind this square piece. And so it's got a little air hole, and I think that's what that vent breathes through. There's another air hole over here. And so I think that's where we got to get to. And of course we've got to take, I think this is the one that's leaking, and it's coming right down and right into this tray here. But we're going to test that out too and see if we can be absolutely sure so we know we got it. But now we got to get this other seat out and a couple of other big bolts there, and we should have it. And then here's the small seat in the garage, and then there's that bolt I was talking about that holds the seatbelt buckle. So that one had to come out of that back hole in order to get the whole thing out. But one down, one to go. Okay, so that wasn't that bad, thankfully. I got the seat out. There's the clips on the back of the seat I was telling you about that go over the anchors in the back wall. So there's an anchor, there's the one for the double seat. And then, so what I did was I took the bolts out of it and left the seat belt in. I may have to take it out, but I don't think so. I think I can leave it. So I left the seat belt in. There's the buckle part, and then just stretched it out and left this seat in so I didn't have to try to take the seatbelt part all out. And hopefully I won't be much longer with this anyway. So there's a couple of push pins. I used my trim tool, took some push pins out. There's some long ones in the top. short ones in the bottom, and just a couple of those, and pop this back, I don't know what you call it, trim piece or close out on the back loose, and there's our vent. So we're going to do a test and spray it. Now, these do have to come in from the outside, or they're put in from the outside. But supposedly, from my very limited research, you can pop these little tabs out and push them out. And then on the new one, you can lower it in from the outside. And then, or some people say you can kind of twist it just right and get it to go in and then pull it back through and snap it in. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed and hope that's the case. So I'm going to spray some water on it, see if I can see it leaking anywhere first off, and be sure that that's actually the problem. I do see, I don't know if that's for me, maybe a little bit of dust and drips and stuff right here. So I'm hoping that's the issue. I don't see anything anywhere else that would lead me to believe that this was a windowsill leak or problem, or anything from that third brake light area, anything like that. So I'm really hoping this is it, and we're gonna have it fixed with this. So we're just gonna run some water over this back glass right here, see if we see anything coming in around the seals. We're gonna stay off the third brake light up there, make sure we don't interfere with it or include it in our test. And then we're gonna just let it drip all down along this one cab vent to see if we look inside and find any water whatsoever leaking around. So I'm just gonna soak this area real good, stay off the satellite antenna, just this back window and this cab vent over here, and see what we see. Well, I'm pretty sure that tells us exactly where the leak is coming from. It's probably around this top gasket, not necessarily the flaps, although I do see some around the edges of the flaps as well. It's got these little flaps right here that allow the air to come and go in the cab when you shut the doors and allow the HVAC system to work correctly. But you can see these look like they're leaking pretty good at the bottom. Look at all the water already, and that was just from maybe a minute's worth of running the hose around the back of the truck. Nothing around the windows, nothing up top. Everything looks good there, no problems. Don't see anything around this window, and so pretty sure we found our problem. So I'm gonna dry this up and pop this joker out and see how difficult that is, and get the new one in. And supposedly there's a new design. We'll get this one out and then we'll compare them and see how they look. But yep, I'm pretty sure maybe that gasket along the edge of it is leaking. I mean, you could see just how much water is puddled up there already. So we definitely found it. So let's see if we can get it fixed. Here's another zoomed in look from the top of the bed. You can see the top edge of this cab vent right there in the center of the screen. So it looks like maybe that gasket or whatever is wore out on the top. So we're gonna pop it loose. There's a little hole on the side right there. I'm gonna see if I can put a coat hanger in that hole and then hook it to the top of this vent, or not vent, well, that vent, and then the top of the bed to hold it when I pop it out. And then so it doesn't fall down there. Although I think if it falls out, it'll just fall straight through. It's not that big a deal, but we'll see. So here's this vent again. There's these little push tabs on the top, and you push those out, and then that's it. It's loose. I mean, that's as easy as it is. Now the trick is how do you get it out? Can you fish it back through diagonally? Probably not. I don't think that's gonna work. So see if I can fish it through to the edge of the truck and push it up and get it out. Well, I just dropped it. You could see the daylight through there now. There's my hand, and I just dropped it straight through to the bottom of the truck. And here is the vent. So here is the original vent. All the tabs look to be in place. They're just these little thin rubber pieces on there. Again, I think something to do with this top seal that just wasn't shedding the water properly, or maybe maybe it was, well, no, I think it must have just been leaking around this top seal and coming in. And so it's got these individual tabs on the original one. Again, this is a 2017 Ram. And then here's the new design. It's got a new gasket on it. Solid flaps on it. And they open. So let's hope we get this one in sealed up a little bit better. And that solves our problem. I'm going to clean up what's in the truck now and see if we can get this in. I've cleaned up around the area now. There is no gasket or glue or adhesive or anything like that on here, so it cleans up really easily, but there is nothing that really holds that in there other than the clips on the vent itself. So we're going to see if we can't fish it back down through from the outside and pop it in. Hopefully that goes pretty well. And there's the new one in. So what I ended up doing, the top rail of the bed is angled such that the vent is too wide to go down in between it, but the hole down there in the bottom where it fell through is plenty big enough to fish the vent up in it. So what I did was I got just a spare piece of speaker wire that was in the garage, and a piece of duct tape, and I duct taped it to the top edge of the vent and then just fished it up. You can pull the wire right through the side of the bed where the gasket is, and just fished it straight up through that hole until I got it close here, and then I was able to grab it from the inside and then just gently pull on the frame on the bottom and then the top, and those pins or the clips clip right in and hold it in. And we've already run the water all over it again for a good bit longer than the first test, and no leaks whatsoever. So that was definitely our problem. I was gonna look at this other one to see. I don't know, it was leaking around the top. I don't know if this gasket just got dried out or crack. I don't see a crack or a tear anyway. I don't know why it would have, but it's probably just dried out and old, or maybe these clips just weren't holding it in tight enough to seal it. But that's it. It's fixed. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side while I'm at it. There's no sense having all of this ripped apart and not do the other side. So I'm gonna move this, go ahead and fish the other one up for the other side, and fix them both while I'm at it. I figured there was no sense in having it all ripped apart and not doing this side too. It wasn't leaking. I tested it before and after just to make sure, but it wasn't leaking. But I said, shoot, this thing's all ripped apart, seats are out. I might as well fix it with the new model too to save time and hopefully headache later. This side though was a little bit more annoying. I guess maybe the bed is slightly off center or crooked. This side is actually tighter, and so I had to be careful fishing it up from the bottom. It still went in fine, but it didn't want to come through quite as easily as the other side did. So I had to make sure I didn't drop it, and was able to pull it right through and snap it into place, and tested it out with the hose again and water. No leaks, and so we're going to start putting everything back together. We've got our back wall in place. It's got these couple of push pins that are back in there. One more up there, and then two on that side. And then we put I think these are the child safety straps that you can hook car seats and stuff to. But those are back in place, bolted down. So now we're going to start putting the seats back together. There's this seat put back together. We've got the bolt in the back tightened down. We've got our plug for our seat light back. Got the bolts back together for our platform base here. Got our subwoofer put back in and hooked back up. I didn't bolt this back down properly the way it was. I've got some plans for this, hopefully upgrade it in the near future. And so I don't have it underneath the bolt like I'm supposed to, but it's back in and working. So this side's done. So now we just got to move on to the last side and we'll be all finished. And that's it. We're all finally back together. Just remember, when you actually put this tray back in, if you've got a quad or a crew cab or whatever, you have to put the tray in first before you put these bolts back in, so it'll hold it down. And then everything's back together, tightened down, and it's fixed finally. And so we're good to go, and no more leaks for a while, hopefully. Here's another quick clip of the two vents that came out. Again, the passenger side one wasn't leaking, but I figured while it was all taken apart, we might as well do both of them. There was no sense putting it back together and then having a leak on the other side. So that's all finished now. So that's a wrap on this install. It was pretty quick. If you've got a regular cab or whatever, it'd go even faster. Probably wouldn't take 30 minutes to do it all. Taking the seats out were definitely the most time-consuming part of the whole project, but really not that bad. Just take your time, and it's a couple of bolts, and they come right out. So pretty easy install. Glad that it fixed the problem. It wasn't something else we had to track down, or that rear window was leaking or something like that. A much bigger pain in the butt to deal with, but this one thankfully solved our problem, and back down the road, and hopefully won't leak for a long time again. And if you found the video helpful at all, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. If you got any questions or comments, drop them down below. And if you want to follow along with more content, we do car videos, upgrades, mods, fixing things, repairing stuff, all kinds of stuff, travel videos, hobbies, stuff like that. So if you want to follow along and hang out with us, feel free to subscribe, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching. Bye.